Welcome back, guys, to part 2 of the Dumbo tutorial. For this video we're going to be working on the actual body and attaching our body parts to him, and so we're just going to knit our loom like this, the same way you had it for your hat and your collar. So I have the outside of my pins facing this way, and we're going to be working on 7 pins in the front and 7 in the back. And so make sure you put your holders far enough apart so that you've got 7 pins and an open space that will accommodate the design. So the first row that we're going to do, I'm double looping my first band, and I'm going to do a figure 8 with that. That was hard. I just put lotion on my hands to try to help with this residue that these bands are leaving on my fingers, but now I'm having a hard time. Okay, so I'm going to take another double looped band, and I'm going to make another figure 8. And now I'm just taking a regular 2 single bands, making a figure 8. Another 2 bands, making a figure 8. Another 2 with a figure 8. Two more, figure 8. Okay, and then I'm taking another double looped band. I'm putting it right there. And I'm going to go another one and go across. Another double looped band into a figure 8. And then I'm going to do 4 sets of the double bands. So there's 1. There's 2. There's 3. And 4, and then I'll close this off with a double looped band into my figure 8. You're going to want to push these down as far as you can because we're going to be adding some more bands on top of this, and it's going to get pretty congested, but this is just for the beginning part. So my next bands are going to go across these in X's. And I'm using, the first one that I'm using is a double looped band, and I'm going from my first pin here across to this one here. I'm going to take another double looped band and place it on this pin across to this one. I'm pushing them down as I go. I'm going to take 2 bands and do my figure 8 across. Another 2, do my figure 8 across, 2 bands, figure 8 across, 2 bands across, 2 bands across, again, 2 more bands over here, and then 2 more bands across here, and then my last 2 will be double looped bands. So double looping that one and bringing it across to here, and double looping this one and bringing it across to here in my figure 8. Alright, so now what we want to do is go all the way around this rectangle with our bands laid regularly, no figure 8s on this one. But we're still doing the double loop bands on the ends, so there's 1 double looped here. And then I'm going to do 4 sets of the double bands. So these are 2 bands that I'm using. There's 4. Then I'm going to double loop. Place that there. Take a single band and double loop it and go across. Another double looped band right there. I'm going to do 4 more sets of double bands. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then these last 2 will be double looped. So 1 right there. And 1 right here. Okay, so we've got a lot of bands on there, and the reason for these cross bands here is so that it closes up the very top of the head. So if you look here on this Dumbo that I made already, you can see the little X's. That just closes it up automatically for me because I don't like stitching it up at the end. The only part that we're going to have to stitch up is this little behind. So okay, so we have a lot of bands that we need to flip over, and what I usually start with are the figure 8 bands. I usually grab 1 set of those and flip them over, and then the other set. So here's the first one. I'm flipping that over. I'm going to flip over the next one, and then I have some bands underneath. I've got 2. I'm flipping those. I'm leaving 4 bands on my pin. So you want to do that all the way around. So I'm going to start with my cross bands. So there's 1. I'm going to go with my other crossed band. There's 2, and then I'm just going to grab these 4 at the bottom and flip those. So we've got 4 crossed bands to flip over, and then 4 underneath. So I'm just going to do that all the way around. And by flipping the cross bands first, it's easier to differentiate which ones that you want to flip over on the bottom. So sometimes. Just remember that you always want to end up with 4 bands left on the pins. So. I'm so afraid that these bands are going to snap on me while I'm making this video. I've had like really bad luck with this tutorial, and I apologize for that. I don't think I'll be using these bands again. I really like the color though. It's a nice it's a nice kind of, I guess what you'd say, matte gray. It's not like a matte silver, I mean. It's not like really shimmery, but there's a little bit of shine to it, so I think it will look good in the end after all the troubles it gave me. Okay, so I'm still just flipping these over. Take your time, just make sure you're flipping over the right bands. Alright, so I've got all my bands flipped over. So I've got 4 left on the pins. So that was the most bands that we're going to have on the pins at a time. See, I got 1 band that snapped there. Not good. Okay, so let's see. Now we're going to add our ears to this row. So grab your ears that you made, and you got your tying off bands. We're going to take those out, but first we're going to stick our hook into the loops that are being tied off. So just make sure you get through all of those loops, and then grab your other loop and go through all of those so that you've got them all on your hook. And then you can take off your tying bands if you want. You don't have to do it now. You can do it later if you want. Okay, so just taking those off. And I'm gonna do my double bands on the corners and on the first pins again. So I'm gonna double loop this, grab it with my hook, and pull that through. Okay, I'm just gonna put that on my hook right now for a minute while I figure out how I want to put these on. I want this big curve at the bottom to be on the bottom, and then this part here, the point, to be facing down. So let me see, how did I add this on my other one? Face is gonna be here. So we're just gonna add this over here. This one there. So your ear should look like that, where your ear is kind of pointing this way. So I've got that one on, and then I'm going to do the other side. So it will go like that. So let's go through our loops and the tying off bands. Just going to take these off now. Okay, and then I'm going to grab another gray band. I'm going to double loop it. Stick one end onto my hook and bring it through my ear. And then I'm going to place this on. Okay, so this is how your ears should be. This will be the front of your elephant here. So you can go ahead and stuff these ears so that they're down in there so they don't get caught up in the bands. Okay, so now they're in that hole. And now we're going to add another row around. So we've already put these on, so we're going to double loop our next band and put it here. And then we're going to do 4 sets of the double bands. So I've got 2 bands. I'm going to do that 4 times. And then I'm going to go back to my double looped here. I've got that one on there already. So I'm going to double loop here. My double bands 4 times, 4 times. 2, 3, 4, and then a double looped band here. So now let's flip our bottom bands. Should be the bottom 4 all the way around. Can't believe I broke a band already starting this. So much for crossing my fingers. So I'm just going around. All right, I'm going to push these down gently. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing around. So we'll put the double bands on the ends, the double looped bands on the ends, and then a double looped band here, and then 4 sets of the double bands. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we have a double looped, then another double looped, and another double looped, and then 4 sets of the double bands. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then our last one will be a double looped band. Just like that. And now I'm going to flip the bottom 4 again. All the way around. Okay, push down. Okay, so we're going to continue on around. We're going to use double bands. We're not going to do the double looped bands anymore for a little while. So let's just grab our double bands and go all the way around. All right, and then I'm going to flip the bottom 4. Push down. Takes me longer to push down my bands because they're sticky, so I still have that broken band that's just chilling out there. Okay, so I'm going to do another row around. Same thing, double banded. on there. Flipping the bottom 4. Pushing down. Okay, and then I'm going to do another row around. Wait, so that was row 2. So here's row 3. I just have to remember because we're adding the eyes on the next row around. Alright, so we're gonna, oops, I almost forgot this one here. Okay, so we're gonna flip the bottom 4. Keep wanting to turn my loom around. I accidentally flipped an extra one over on this side. I did. Okay. Okay, push down. Now this is the row where we're going to add our eyes. Okay. Okay. Okay, so this is where I'm using my pony beads. You can use bands if you don't have pony beads. To do that, you would just, I would take 2 bands, just pretend these are black, and then I'd wrap them around my hook once, and then grabbing all of them, I'd wrap them around again, and then I'd take 2 bands the color of my body, and then slide these on to the center. So that's how I'd use the beads. You can also use buttons. I've used buttons on these before and they look really cute. I like the 2-hold buttons. You can just, if you take like a wire or a thin piece of plastic that beads come on, you can actually just string the bands through the buttonholes and then just attach them right onto the loom that way. But I'm just going to use these today. So I'm going to just stick my 2 bands through each bead, and since these are the larger ones, I don't need a threading tool for this, so maybe okay, so there's my 2 eyes. And let's see how I placed these on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. Okay, so our first pin is just going to be a double band, and then I'm going to put my one of my eyes on here. Then I'm going to do another two bands, another one, and then I'm going to put my eye. And then I'm going to put two bands there, and then just go around with 2 bands. I hope your elephants are turning out better than mine. I'm kind of upset that I have like all these loose bands and broken bands hanging out of him. I've never really had that happen to me before. And I would re-record it, but I just don't have time, so I'm just gonna have to deal with it and fix it up later. But I really hope this isn't happening to you. Okay, so I've laid all my bands, and now I'm just gonna flip the bottom 4. Push your bands down. Okay, we're going to do one more row around before we do our first decrease. Actually, wait, we're not going to do our decrease yet. So we'll do another row around. It becomes awkward to figure out how to film this when it doesn't stand on its own anymore. Okay, I'm going to flip the bottom 4. Push down. Now, if you're having problems with your loom wanting to come off of the extenders, then I would suggest that you take 2 rubber bands and then just wrap them around here. That way it kind of holds it to the extenders. I know when I was using the Rainbow Loom gray bands, I was having that problem because they're tighter than these bands are. Or if your pins are older, I think I was using an older loom for my practice run, so the rubber bands will really help hold it on to your pins. So that's just a little tip if you guys didn't already know that. Alright, so we're going back to our double bands, and I'm going to put it in here, and then a double looped here. And now I'm taking my 2 bands and going down 4 pins with that. So there's 2, there's 3, and here's 4, and then I'm going to go back to my double looped here, and then another one across here, another one here, and then I'm going to go back to my double bands for the next 4. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then a double looped one here. Okay, I'm going to just flip over my bottom 4 as usual. Okay, I'm going to push these down, and I'm going to do that same thing again one more time, and then we'll do our decrease. Right, so we're going to take our double looped band here, a double looped here, and then 2 bands for the next 4. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4, and a double looped, another double looped, another double looped, and then 4 double bands. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4, and a double looped band here. Let's flip over the bottom 4. And before we do the decrease, I'm actually going to stick some stuffing in there now so that it's not as hard to get up into the head, because we are decreasing his body. His head is larger than his body, so I'm going to grab some of my polyfill. Again, use whatever you want. You don't even have to stuff them if you don't want to. But I'm just going to put a little in there. And you don't, I mean, it's not really going to show through too much because it is double banded. So the design is pretty tight. Alright, so I think that's good enough for now. I don't want to do too much to where I have polyfill getting caught up in my bands and stuff. And we will be attaching these down here to the head after we pull them off the loom, so they won't be so floppy. Okay, so Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is decreasing the ends. So we will be decreasing, see if you can see this, here and here. So what we're going to do the decrease is pick up the loops and bring them over, bring them down, and then I'm just going to flip the bottom 4 underneath those. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing over here. Just pick them up, put them on that pin below it, and flip over the bottom 4. Push those back down, and then we'll go to the other side, grabbing these off the pin, bringing them down, and flipping the bottom 4. And then the same one over here, grabbing these, placing them on that pin, and then flipping the bottom 4. And then I'll push these down. This is going to be the start of his neck slash body. So, okay. So that's what you should have now. Okay, so now what we are going to do is we're going to double loop these here. Just the ends this time, not this part here. So just the ends will be double looped, and then the rest of it will be double banded. So I'm just going around with my 2 bands. Oh, double loop here. And we're going to flip over the bottom 4. Okay. Now let's push this down. And so now, to finish this guy off, we're actually just going to be doing 7 rows around, regular, no double looped bands or anything. So we're just going to go around this rectangle 7 times. And stuff while you go along. I'm going to do the first one with you, and make sure you keep count with bands just to see what number row you're on. So we're going to do 7. So let's start with the first row, double banded. This part is the easy part. Actually, none of it is really that difficult. It's just a lot of repeat things. Okay, so I did 1 row. Now I'm going to flip over the bottom 4. And then you can either just use a band to put aside a band, meaning that you've done 1 row, or mark it off on a piece of paper, whatever works for you. I know I lose count if I don't mark it, so... Okay, so that was 1, so I'll just place a band off to the side, meaning I did 1 row, and so I need to do 6 more. So go ahead and pause the video and do that, and then I'll meet you back here and we'll tie him up and attach his limbs and nose. Alright. So I've just finished with row 7, and now we're ready to close him up. Looks a little funky with his floppy ears and no nose. Actually, it looks pretty cute. I like this color. Okay, so what I'm going to do after you finish your last row is I'm going to just loom all the way. So I'm going to go through my top 2 bands in this pin here and grab the bottom 2 and loom those up. Then I'm going to go in through those 2 and go and grab the bottom 4 and loom those up. I'm going to go through those 4, grab the bottom 4 and loom those. So I'm just looming these all the way around till we get back to our starting point. And you want to make sure that your bands are catching the other bands. See, what do I have here? Okay. So just like, you know, when you're doing like a regular looming creation, you have to make sure that these are going through. Okay, so then I'm just going to grab this last bottom 4 and bring it over to here. Okay, so I've got that, and now what I'm going to do is make a long chain with bands and thread them through. I'm actually going to use the Rainbow Loom Gray because I don't trust these other ones. I do not want them to snap. So what I do is I take 2 bands and then another 2 and then make a slip knot with that. So I take 1 and then place the other 2 on top of those, and then I'll fold the first 2 bands in half, and you're left with this little center here from this band, and so I'll just grab that and pull tight. And we're grabbing another 2 and doing the same exact thing. I'm going to make this pretty long. So I'm just going to keep going. I'll probably make it about 8 bands long. You could also use, I've used embroidery floss before too, and that works really well. If you're scared that your bands might snap, embroidery floss works very well for that. So I usually just match the color to whatever I'm making, and you can't even see it. So. But right now, I don't know where my embroidery floss is. So I'm just gonna use my bands. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I need 2 more. 7. And there's 8. Okay, give it a little stretch just to get it flexible enough. Okay, now grab your little creature here. And the first hole that we're going to stick this chain through is where we ended our looping. So we're going to go in through those, and then we're going to grab this end of the chain and bring it up through. And now what I like to do is just put this around one of these loops over here and just let it stay there while I'm going around. Okay, so then I'm going to go through the top of the next pin and pull this through. And I'm going to do that all the way around, so I'll go through the top of the next one, pull it up, through the top of the next one, and pull it up, and through the top of the next one, and pull that one up. Okay, I'm going to come around and go through the top on this side, and pull it up. And what I'm going to do here is just pop these off my pin, just the ones that my thread is through already. Okay, so I'm going to give a little slight tug. Okay, and then I'm going on this side and grabbing this through the top. Same thing over here. Here. And then last one over here. Now we can hold on to this, and we can pop these off the pins. Okay. And the reason why I made my chain so long is because we're going to be working on this while it's still open. We're not going to close him off all the way yet. So make sure that you've got a good length on both sides so that it won't slip out. So that you'll be able to like stretch and stuff and your thread won't fall out. So that's why I make it so long. Okay, so now here's your little guy off of the loom. Let's start attaching his ears to the side of his face here. And to do that, we're going to do pretty much the same thing that we did when we added the pink inside the ear. We're going to use stitching to secure this a little better. So let's see. I'm going to go figure out where you want your ear to sit. You could have it up here, you could have it back here, you could have it, probably put it like right here. Because Dumbo has big ears and they're supposed to be like kind of floppy. And so I want them to lay like this. So I'm going to go somewhere in the face into one of those stitches there and line it up with this. So I've got a stitch from the ear and then a stitch from the face on my hook right now. I'm going to do the same thing with my bands as I did before with the ear. I'm going to bring up a gray band, 2 gray bands through all of those loops. And then I have 2 loops on my hook, and I'm going to bring this one over. So now we just have 1. So I'm just going to go down into the next stitch in the face. You can see that. And then the next stitch into the ear. I'm going to grab 2 more gray bands. Pull that through all of those loops except for the 2 that are already on your hook. Just leave those right now. Okay, and then I'm going to put these over this band here. Okay, so you're keeping this band on your hook. I'm going to go through, I think probably about one more stitch should do it. So 1 more stitch in the face and 1 more stitch in the ear. I'm grabbing 2 more bands. I'm going to bring that through those loops of the ear and the face, but leaving this one on my hook. And then I'm putting these over. Okay, So that's what you got. Now I'm just going to come behind the ear somewhere. Probably right here. There's like a little stitch right there. And I'm just going to tie that off with a slip knot. And then I'll hide the slip knot into the body. Okay, so there's one ear finished. I'm just going to hide this. So carefully go into the head somewhere, trying not to grab the stuffing. I know it's pretty hard to do. Just do it a couple of times if you don't get it the first time. All right. Okay, so there's one ear, and then I'm going to do the same with my other ear. So just position it the way you want it. Then go through a stitch on the face and a stitch in the ear. Like that. Grab your 2 bands, pulling through, putting the band back onto your hook, and doing a slip knot. Go through the next stitch, and then the next stitch in the ear. Grabbing 2 bands, pulling through the loops from the ear and the face only. Still have this band on my hook. Make sure you don't go through that one. Well, I mean you can, but need to go through one more, I think, or 2. Okay, so I went through just the bands from the ear and the face. I'm just going to bring that through. Oops. Just like that. I'm going to go the next stitch down. And the next stitch in the ear. Grab this and bring it through. Try to center that band a little bit. Okay. And then bringing that through all of those. Okay, so I think I did 3 on the other side, so now I'm just going to go somewhere in the back of the ear. Or just right there. No, I want to go in a different one without losing this. Okay, so I just go through here, doesn't matter where really. Okay, and then just draw a band through to tie a slip knot. And tie pretty tight. And you've got your other ear attached. So let me hide this band here. I hope you guys don't mind attaching the body parts after. It's just, when you attach it on the loom, it's just not very secure to me, especially when they're heavier. So like the trunk, it's 3D, it's pretty heavy. Like, I mean, we attach the ears directly onto the loom and they're still flopping around. So this way, we know they'll be secure and you can position them anywhere you want. So that's the reason why I do it afterwards. Just because I like for it to be nice and secure, and I like to place it where I want to place it. You're like very limited when you're doing it directly on the loom, so that's the reason for that. So this design is, like, I guess you'd call it fiddly, because you have to do a lot of messing around with it before it's actually finished and looks the way you want it to look. So I was kind of unsure of doing a tutorial for this because of that, but I hope you guys figure it out and don't have a problem with it. So okay, so we want to add our trunk next. And so let's see, you can position the trunk any way you want. Like I said before, I did curl it up like this and did a slip knot to keep it closed, but now I'm kind of thinking, I don't know, I kind of want to keep it open. I kind of like it open, and I kind of want it up this time because, let's see, where's my other one? For this one, I wrapped it around so it comes down, but I can show you how to close up the trunk, but I don't think I'm going to do it, this one. So what I did was I just went through like one of these stitches here towards the top of the trunk, and then I brought it down to where I wanted this to curl over. So let's say here. So then you'll attach it with a band, you'll draw it through all the loops and then do a slip knot and then hide it. So I did that. I think I did it maybe 2 times just to make sure it was like secure enough, but today I'm going to leave it open. So if you want to do that, go ahead and do that. But I'll show you how to attach it, and like I said, you can attach it any way you want. You can have it facing down, facing to the side. I think I'm going to have mine facing up and to the side. So yeah, I think I'm going to do mine like this. Okay, so we're going to attach it the same way we've attached the ears. So I'm going to go through the loops at the very top of my trunk. So I've got these loops here, and then I'm going to find a spot to put it onto the face. You want to line it up to where you want it to be. So I think, so I usually start in the trunk first, and then I find the spot that I want it to add where I want it to be. So probably somewhere right there. So I just went through some stitches in the face. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to wrap this, take this through all of these. Okay, I'm going to do my slip knot. And then I'm just going to go all the way around the trunk doing that. So I'll go into the next stitch of the trunk and put that where I want it to be, so somewhere over here. Okay, I'm going to grab 2 more gray bands, bring that through, and I'm just going to bring it through all of the loops on my hook. Okay, and I'll just do a slip knot. I'm going to go back through another stitch, so that will be down here. And then somewhere into the body. And if you don't like it the first time around, you can just take these out and reposition it and do it over again. I know I've had to do that a couple of times. So I'm just bringing it through all of the loops on my hook, including that other band, reclaiming the other end, and then doing a slip knot. I'm just going all the way around. If you guys have another way of attaching, feel free to use it. This is just a suggestion. I mean, I usually do just like slip bands and slip knots, but this is just more secure. Okay, so the next one. Pulling bands through all the loops. Somewhere I got it caught up on another band. Just take your time with this, because you want it to be even. You want it to be where you want it to be. And then just make sure you keep checking that it's where you want your trunk to be. I'm just going all the way around to my starting point. So I've got one more stitch. Okay, and then I'm just going to go through my the starting point. I'm just going to take a band and bring it through and do a slip knot and then hide that band. I'll just bring that through the trunk somewhere. All right. So there's his little trunk. He's coming along, guys. We're almost done. Just need to add the legs and the front legs, make a little tail, and then add his little collar, which I'm going to add right now. Whoops. Oh, come on. I'll fix that later. All right, so next I guess we'll add the legs. Okay, so now for the legs, I've gone ahead and attached two. I was just kind of testing this out because I wanted to attach it differently than what I did with this other one. Here you can see it, the stitches around. I kind of attached them the way I did with the ears. So I decided to do it differently on this one. It will take less bands and less time, and it will be cleaner looking this way. So what we want to do it like this is you'll take one of your legs, and you already have your 2 tying off bands right there. So you're going to line it up to the body. And if that's where you want your leg to go, you're going to add another band in here. So I'm going to go from behind. I'm leaving the center column. I'm not going into the center column. I'm leaving that open. I'm going to grab a gray band and bring that through a little bit. Just enough so that you can see it poking out towards the back. And then holding this, I'm going to go on the other side of that center column and pull that the rest of the band through. And I'll just straighten this out here. Okay, so you have 2 little loops in the back, and we're going to use this and this to attach the leg. So what you first want to do is put your leg where you want it. And then you're going to have to go through the inside of the elephant. So I kind of move my stuffing over a little bit. And then I come out a hole where I want my top of my leg to be. Let me get some of this stuffing out of the way. Okay, so I'm coming out a hole, and then I'm going to grab the tying off bands. So I'll just grab those and then bring them through my body carefully, and then I'll keep those onto my hook. Actually, I think I want that a little bit higher, so take that out. I think I want it to be right up here. Okay, so let's try that again. If you catch a little stuffing, it's okay. You can always fix it later. Okay. So I'm going to flip it to the right side. And then you have your 2 little loops on the back here. So I'm going to go through somewhere in the body that's near one of those loops. I'm going to pull 1 through, keeping that on my hook. And then I'm going to go on the other side in the body where that other loop is and grab that one and pull that. So I have all those loops on my hook. For some reason I have more. I don't know where those came from, but whatever. As long as you have the right loops on your hook, it'll be fine. So I've got all of these loops onto my hook, and I'm just going to go somewhere on the inside of the body into a stitch nearby and just pull up a gray band and slip knot it. If I can do that. Okay, so I got that, and I'm just going to tie a slip knot. Okay, stuff that in there. And then we're going to do the same thing for our side leg. Sorry, my children are being really loud right now. They're playing with their daddy. Okay, so this one is going to go over here. So first I'm going to add in my loose band, the same way I did with my other leg. So pull that out a little, and then I'll go on the other side and pull that. So I've got those little loose loops on the back. Okay, I'm going to go into the body again. Let's see, do you want it right here? Okay, and just pull that through. And see if it's sitting where you want it to sit. I'm still keeping that hook on, that loop on there just in case I like it. Okay, yeah, and then I am going to go through another part in the body where I want to grab these loose loops over here, so. Hold the other one so it doesn't come out when you're bringing this one. Okay, so there's one, and then directly across from that is two. Okay. And then just go into a stitch inside the body. And then tie a slip knot. And then we can close them up. Alright, so let's stuff all that stuff in there. Okay, so that's what you should have. And now let's close this little bum up. So if you are using bands and you aren't using string, you still need to be careful. Just because you don't want your bands to break here, because then it will fall apart, and that would be awful. I mean, I'm sure you could save it somehow. I've had that happen to me before. Okay, so just close it up as much as you can. It doesn't matter if you still have a little tiny hole. Like, if you can see there, I still have that hole there. That's okay, because I'm going to fix that in a moment. So I'm just going to tie this into a knot. I don't want to pull any tighter because I just don't want to risk breaking this. Okay, so I just tied it into a knot. I'm going to put that one aside, and I'm just going to go back and forth like in a zigzag and just sew across to close up this little hole. So I'm on the opposite side of where this where this string is. So I'll bring that through. And then I'll go to the other side. And then the other side. And I'll do one more. Alright, that should be good. So I'm just going to clip some of this off, just because I don't need all this extra string here. So I'll just cut that off, and then I'll tuck it in. Ease behind. Okay, so there's, if any polyfold comes out, just stick it back in with your hook. All right. Okay, so we just need to add his hat now, and his collar, and his tail. And then we're finished. Okay, so we'll put his little hat on. You can put it in the center. I'm going to put it off to the side, like this. So I'll just grab somewhere in the head, and then I'm going to grab not the loops that are up on top, I'm going to grab the ones that are underneath. Just some random ones. And then I'll bring up a gray band and slip knot. And then I'll do that on the other side behind. Here's one of my snapped bands right here. Okay, so I'll just go through here, and then I'll go through here. And do the same thing. Okay, so his little hat is on, and then of course, as usual, you want to tuck these in. I know there's a lot of extra work into making this guy. Okay, so his hat's on, and then you can add his collar, which I had on earlier, but I took it off. Not sure why. Oh, because I was attaching his legs. Yeah, I'm just going to put that on. So there's his little collar, and then let's do his tail. Okay, so for the tail, I'm going to take 3 bands and wrap them around my hook 1 time. I'm going to take 3 more, and I'm going to double loop these. Put them onto my hook and bring that band over onto the middle, and then put the rest on your hook. And take another 3 bands and double loop those. Slide those over. I'm going to take another 3 and double loop those. And slide those over. I'm just frilling out this cap band a little bit so it looks like here. Okay. So I've done 1, 2, 3. I'm going to do another one. And I'll do one more. So a total of 5. or whatever you guys want to do. However long or short you want to make it is totally up to you. Okay, and then I'll just grab a band and pull it through all of that. Reclaim onto my hook and tie a slip knot carefully. Okay, and then find a spot where you want to put it. I'm going to put it right here. I'm going to put it off center because you're going to be pulling your band through the center. So I'm just pulling my tying off band through those stitches in the body. So before I finish telling you what to do with the tail, my camera cut off because of the battery. So I just did the slip knot on the back and then wrapped the band around the tail. So that's it, and he's finished, which is great. And I hope you guys were able to follow this tutorial okay. I'm not like 100% happy with the way this went, just because I feel like I had a lot of problems with the bands and I'm not used to doing tutorials yet. So I hope you guys, you know, did okay still and were able to make your own elephant. And if you want to, you can share with me on Instagram at christina.davis. You can find the link in my channel banner for my Instagram page. I'd love to see your versions of Dumbo, and I love to take requests, so if you want to give me any requests, then comment below. If you want to like and subscribe, you'll get to see more videos that I make. And I also post sneak peeks on my Instagram too, so if you'd like to see those, then go ahead and follow me there. And thank you so much for watching this video, and have a great day. Bye.